the Dharm Dhwaj today is a symbol of that Ram Rajya as well. And on that note, let's go across to Amish Tripathi. Amish, I mean, I know people will smirk at it, they may mock it, but the fact is that this is a symbol. The Dharm Dhwaj today is a symbol of Ram Rajya. Your thoughts?
No, absolutely, Padmaja. This, at least I've read many versions of the Ramayana, and at least from what I recall, this Dhwaj was described in the Valmiki Ramayana when Lord Lakshman saw Lord Bharat coming, into the jungle. The description of the Kodivara tree, for example, something very interesting. The Kodivara tree is, of course, described in the Valmiki Ramayana. At least it is mentioned. I don't recall reading a description of it. But many of the other versions, the later versions, don't mention the Kodivara tree, right? And the fact that this itself is being revived now, I don't know where that memory was lost. Why is it not mentioned in the later versions of the Ramayana? And at least I am not aware of what the Kodivara tree actually looked like. At least I'm not aware. I had not read a description anywhere. And the fact that, and all compliments to the Nyas, that they rediscovered this, that they're putting this in the Dhwaj, it shows our civilizational continuity. Something that is coming from Valmiki Ramayana times till today. This was the symbol of Emperor Dasharatha. This was the symbol of the Ayodhya kingdom, and now it is a symbol of India's civilizational renewal.
Absolutely. How have you seen things change over the last decade, the last 2 decades, as somebody who has traveled across the world? Do you think that there is a greater, not just understanding, but there's a greater acceptance of who you are as a country and as a culture?
Padmaja, we can see this at two levels. One is at the Indian level, second at the global level itself. At the Indian level, it is obvious. All of us have seen it, particularly post the economic reforms of 1991, as India has risen economically and in global power after centuries of decline. We suffered 1,000 years of brutal foreign invasions. As we recover after centuries of decline, our civilizational confidence is rising once again. We are rediscovering our civilizational roots and yet merging it with what is required for modernization as well. As the Prime Minister said so beautifully, modernization should not mean westernization. It should not mean that we should turn against modernization as well. How do we keep our civilizational continuity and yet prepare ourselves for the modern world? And what you see happening at the global level, as the relative power of the West declines, you will find many non-Western cultures going through a phase of change. Over the last 150, 200 years, Padmaja, the entire world has been westernized. Look at Turkey, for example, what Kemal Ataturk did out there. Essentially, a very discontinuous process of westernization. Look at what China did. Marxism is essentially a Western philosophy. In the Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution, the Chinese elite destroyed their own culture, many of their own old temples, many of their own old scriptures. We didn't do anything like that. Even in the last 60 years, even though our elite may have derided our culture, but they didn't actively go and try to destroy our culture. This happened in China. So one process was complete westernization. One process is what you see in places like Pakistan or radical Islam, where the reaction to westernization, modernization is you become completely hidebound and exactly how I was 1,000 years ago. Nothing is going to change. Either of these extremes, as is obvious, Padmaja, are not good. We shouldn't lose our culture and become over westernized. We shouldn't swing on the other extreme and unmodernize. That isn't good either, which is what I find beautiful about what's happening right now. The very fact of the Dhwaj itself, the fact you can see the civilizational continuity, the fact that it's going up today on the day of Vivah Panchami shows our civilizational continuity. But in the temple itself, the process of construction, I'd made a documentary on the temple. The process of construction itself that L&T did had so much modern tech. So India actually is progressing on a path of the best of both worlds. the civilizational continuity of our ancestors, and the best of modernization, the best of technology, best of engineering, best of AI. We need to have the best of both worlds. That's what I see today.
No, and also the fact that you've got various efforts being made, and I'll again quote what the RSS chief, the Sar Sangchalak Mohan Bhagwat said just last week. He said, कुछ तो होगा कि हस्ती मिटती नहीं हमारी, and it's not as if efforts were not made from
यूनानो
actual.
मिस्रो रोमा सब मिट गए जहां से, अब तक मगर है बाकी नामो निशा हमारा, कुछ बात है कि हस्ती मिटती नहीं हमारी, सदियों रहा है दुश्मन दौरे जमा हमारा. It was said by Iqbal, and yes, I don't like Iqbal too much, but the words are beautiful.
Absolutely. And and it worked at so many levels. Yes, Allama Iqbal said that, and it worked at so many levels, from physical attacks to the brainwashing where actual Hindus were told, you must get rid of your beliefs because your beliefs are bad. They are bigoted. They are against a certain community. How do you think somebody managed to overcome that? It has literally been a concerted effort of centuries.
Of centuries and patient, calm work. I mean, if you think about it, Padmaja, um, the intellectual attacks that were also done on India, it's not just the physical attacks. Of course, the temple was destroyed by the foreign invader, barbaric foreign invader Babur. Um, uh, the intellectual attacks as well. That you should forget this. This is silly. Chodo kal ki baatein, kal ki baat purani. You remember that song, right? And just kind of move on. And I'll tell you, among the things I discovered, Padmaja, in the documentary that I made, and this had actually brought tears to my eyes. When the Babri structure was still there, many Hindus, of course, not just Hindus actually, many Dharmic, Sikhs, Buddhists, many used to come out there. They refused to forget the temple. They used to do the pradakshina of the Babri structure, and so many millions came for so many decades, so many centuries ki dharti dhas gayi thi. The earth had actually got inundated around that pradakshina route, and this has been recorded by British travelers who'd visited the site maybe 150 years ago. Can you imagine the extent of the devotion? And this is almost a civilizational stubbornness we will not forget. As Milan Kundera had said, civilization is the struggle of remembering against forgetting. And we Indians refuse to forget. We are willing to reform when reform is needed. As I'm sure aware, when the Shilanyas of the new temple was done, Kameshwar Chopal ji had actually done the Shilanyas. He was a Dalit. And yes, this reform was needed. We needed to, as Lord Ram did, bring all Indians into the fold. And I'm not just talking about Hindus of all castes. I'm not just talking about Dharmics of Buddhists, Jain, Sikhs. I'm talking about Indian Muslims, Indian Christians as well. They should also be welcome. Lord Ram belongs to all. They should come as well. And that is the symbol I'm sure Lord Ram would expect of us from his temple.
And when you talk about the civilizational stubbornness, it extends across. There have been people who have said there is only a limited claim. Nobody is claiming every inch of land across India or elsewhere as belonging to Hindus. But if you have a Janmabhoomi, if it is Kashi, Mathura, Ayodhya, then this is the basic that you demand. And the same thing that you spoke of in Ayodhya, the same thing is happening at Gyanvapi in Varanasi as well. You can see the same thing in Mathura as well, where people simply refuse to give up. Centuries ago, somebody came and made Ram Lala Virajman, who wasn't a politician. He was just a common man who said, you may tell me to get lost, but I am going nowhere. This is my Janmasthan.
Padmaja, I know I would get emotional talking about this because, as you know, I'm a very devout Shiv Bhakt, and my family's roots are in Varanasi. My grandfather was a teacher at BHU. He was a pandit at Vishwanath ji. As I'm sure you're aware, there is a massive Murti of Nandi ji, who's looking at the Gyanvapi, where we believe Baba used to be, Lord Shiva used to be. And like Lord Nandi, uh, all of us Shaivites, we will be patient. We will never take the law into our own hands. But we will not step back. We will not forget. And Baba will give us darshan once again. From there, I'm sure. If not me, at least my son will see it.